Hello, friends and fellow Minecraftians. Welcome to episode 11 of Realm News. I am your host, the Dark Lord, the one who puts real in realm and expands your mind one block at a time. I hope everyone has had a great week since the last time that I have talked to you. I hope that you have all created some amazing builds and have not encountered that ominous Herobrine, that white-eyed beast that became a creepypasta phenomena that we discussed in last week's episode. Go check that out if you haven't already. Now, I have a very interesting topic for this episode today. We are going to cover banners, folks. And I am reporting to you from the Grand Central Reflection Room in my town called Sea Town, where I have the Empereur Dieu banner, Gaia Divine banner, and the Sun King's Farthia banner all on display above the entrance in front of me right now. Banners everywhere. Yes, we all know what these are. If you are listening to this podcast, then you know what a flag or a banner is. Banners have been very beneficial to humans since their advent. They have helped us unite and distinguish each other during times of war, no matter what they are used for. Their primary purpose is to convey a message. Symbolism is the essence of a banner, whether that is representing an army, a nation, a group, an organization, or promoting patriotism or propaganda. It is no different for the banners in Minecraft. I have a banner representing my realm of Empereur Dieu, and the two colors are very symbolic for the headcanon of my world. And so is the banner for many other players that play Minecraft. In fact, I will be telling you about how other players use the banner in their worlds. I will give a brief history of the banner. I will teach those who do not know already how to make banners, how to make those banners, and give those who do know how to make them a little refresher in the banner making and all that, and how to make copies of those banners. We will also cover many of the dyes so you can color your banner and much, much more in this episode today, folks. So call your bannermen and join me as we take a deep dive into, well, banners. But before we touch base on banners, I always or typically talk about some input from you. You, the Minecraftian, the reason I make this informative show. Well, it's that time. It's poll time! Yes, folks, it is poll time, and I pose another great question to the denizens of Minecraft. Which of these biomes do you prefer building your towns or cities on? Now, you may be wondering how this question correlates to the show's subject, but banners are usually flown in villages or towns that we build. Maybe I am just speaking on my own behalf, because all of my towns have the kingdom's colors represented on banners. So let us hear from the people and see what they have to say. I gave a list of options, and I'm going to go ahead and get started on it. 1. Badlands. 2. Snow biome. 3. The desert. 4. Jungle. 5. Plains biome. And 6. The savanna. We had a good turnout for this one, people. A total of 47 votes. Now, I don't think that is too bad, if I may say so myself. So let me begin with the biome that received the least amount of votes. That would be the Badlands, with a lonely but brave 1 vote. And I wish you good luck out there to you building in the Badlands. But you all know from the Badlandia Baby episode that my next goal is to go out into the Badlands and build that Hoodoo City. So I'm excited about that. Let me move on. We have a tie with 3 votes between 2 biomes, folks. And I'm going to go ahead and say the 2. That being savanna and desert. And now I just want to say that is rather shocking to me because the savanna is so much more habitable than the desert. I don't understand how those became tied. It just strikes me as odd. I actually quite like the savanna. It has a certain appeal to it that I like to build in. The trees, the dead-looking grass. You can just tell it's an arid environment, and I like that aesthetic. That's just a nice biome to me. It's pleasing to the eye, even how the sunlight level is different in that biome. However, who am I to talk about the savanna biome, because I voted for the snow biome, people. Which came in place right after the jungle biome. So the jungle biome is next, which had 6 votes, and then the snow biome had a nice round even 8 votes. I have a couple towns in the jungle, but my latest endeavors have been conquering the massive snow biome I have called Midgard now. I call my entire Arctic or snow biome region out there where White Ridge is located, and now I have 4 other cities out there which I have called Midgard, which all of them sit on. And I'm probably going to break those into some provinces because they're spread out vastly. I just got done connecting the last one via rail. It's a 14.5-minute train ride, or rail ride, I should say. I am quite proud of that number. Now, moving on. The 8 votes that the snow biome had is nothing compared to the winner's 26 votes. The winner of this week's poll is the plains biome. And to me, that makes the most perfect sense. And I probably could have guessed that. I went for the snow biome just because I love the snow biome. But it makes perfect sense for a plains biome to be built on because it's the perfect habitat for building villages and other structures on. It's flat. It's nice and flat. It has the typical hostile mobs, you know? You always have to be on the lookout for hostile mobs. But this biome also has plenty of resources. It's resource rich, such as in wood, various stones, which you can pretty much get stone anywhere in the overworld if you just dig down far enough. Dig down carefully though. And also there's plenty of just fauna around the plains biome, which is easy to spot because everything's flat. So you can find cattle out there, pigs, chickens, all the things you need for sustenance and food. When I start a world, I typically try to find the flattest place possible to build my first village upon. And so the plains biome is simply just the easiest place to do so. I chose a snow biome again, not because it was easy. I chose it because of the love of the snow and that feel of how the snow stacks on the rooftops. However, I do get sick of that biome if I spend too much time out there, and I'll switch it up by going to all my other biomes. Now, let's hear from the Minecrafters themselves on what they do with banners before I move on to the history of the banner on Earth. Before I go into the history behind the banner, I would like to tell you some comments I received from a question I posed. What's your banner for your kingdom? I received 23 comments in reaction to that simple question, and some very interesting ones. Allow me to begin with Parker Wilson GC from Reddit. Quote, banner I stolen from pillager. End quote. Caveat, folks, killing an illager chieftain or bannerman will trigger a war or a raid upon your village, okay? I just want to let you guys know that. But some people seek that to get the resources from raid wars. And you know what? I've been in so many of them, I'm just sick of them, so I don't kill any more chieftains. And honestly, I have enough of their flags. I don't need to. I used to like to steal the pillager banners after I ridded them all, but as I said, I've been in too many battles. I'm shell-shocked. No, I'm never shell-shocked, but sometimes those battles just go on too long. I just don't want to deal with it. And especially after the Great Raider Battle of Charmois, like in the early days of my kingdom, after France was founded, we stood victorious in that battle. This was my first battle ever alone against raiders, by the way. Typically, the Sun King is there to help squash these skirmishes with me. But I just want to go ahead and fast forward. After the battle, when we won that war, I erected a monument outside, a nice open air monument, and it's kind of a cross made with wall. I think it's deep slate wall. And so it's a monument for those villagers who were slain. And I placed the pillager banners from the aftermath on each side of that. And then there's a nice 2 rows alongside the path leading up to it of orange tulips, which is symbolic to our banner, the national banner. So we would never forget the great battle and those that we lost. Very sentimental, you see what you can do with these. Thank you, Parker Wilson GC. That banner, it keeps stealing those pillager banners. Good luck to you fighting them as well. I want to move on to the embarrassed Space Garage 42. And they go ahead and say, quote, "This is the banner of my kingdom known as Ravensthorpe, in a realm called Colverth," end quote. I love the names. I think those are very inventive. And I love ravens, so I think you probably have a lot of lore behind your realm. I might have to ask you to go into depth about Colverth and Ravensthorpe. But I'm looking at this banner, and it is very cool. It reminds me of a squid for some reason. Maybe because it is the top and bottom are kind of like arrowheads. They have a pattern that looks like kind of like a Pope hat. I don't know how to explain it. But they're identical. It's just one's facing down, kind of like an arrowhead, I guess. And the other one's on the top of the flag, pointed up. And then the center almost looks like it could be a face of some sort. But I don't know how they got this pattern made, honestly. It's very unique. But at the bottom, you can tell they used red and a shade fade of that red. And it fades away as it goes up towards the middle where it quits fading. And the entire flag itself, you can tell, was probably made of dyed wool, or maybe they did a black pattern over it to make it a solid black. I'm not quite sure on that, but it's a very cool and very unique looking banner. My hat off to you, Embarrassed Garage 42. Next, Spider Venom 64, and their flag is very indicative of their name. Quote, "It's my skin face," end quote. I am always amazed by how people can make specific shapes on their flags. I just want to say that. I know this is if you can envision Venom, the comic book character Venom, then you can picture what this flag looks like. It's very basic with the 2 white eyes as half triangles. I'm forgetting my geometry here, but on these white triangles or these eyes on the black background. Looks simple, but I would have to look at the patterns and see how they did that in the loom. I'm just amazed by how some people can make their banners so elaborate. And I know this one's not one of the most elaborate, but it's still very cool in its simplicity. I like it. Great job on replicating your face on your banner. Very neat. Everyone in your kingdom's definitely going to know who's in charge when they enter. You don't even have to be there for them to know who's in charge. Now, moving on to Oprah Touch. Quote, I don't have an official banner on my PC, but on my iPad Pro, I do have a banner. It's not a kingdom banner, but more a personal banner called Mojangles, as in the font. End quote. And props for the name, Mojangles. That just made me laugh when I read your comment. I thought that was funny. And nothing wrong with not having an official kingdom banner by any means. Oprah Touch in this picture they sent me has their personal banner on their shield. I just want to point out. They have a picture here of them holding a shield, and I believe they have the pattern of the golden apple on that shield. The red, it looks like a apple with a bite taken out of it almost. But the background is green where that apple is on the front of. So the background is green, like an olive green, I would have to say. Very cool. Thank you for that, Oprah Touch. And thanks to all of the people who commented on that question. I loved to see all the different banners and hearing the symbolism or reasons behind them all. I should tell you about my personal flag before I move on to the history, the human history side, before we exit out of the realm and into the real on banners. The Ombre Dieu banner with its coat of arms has been flying high for a year now. You can find my kingdom's banner all over a radius spanning thousands of blocks or kilometers in all directions. It flies high above 20 to 25 cities in my realm, all united under one banner. This banner symbolizes the state and the religion of the people that live and inhabit this realm. The banner is made of the finest red dyed wool. And then added to this background of this red flag is an intersection pattern of orange dye. Allow me to tell you my banner color symbolism. The red symbolizes Ombre Dieu's blood. Yes, their god has blood. I know that sounds absurd, but that's my headcanon. And orange is the color of the rising sun, which recycles the world each new day from the hostile mobs, or I should say at least most of them. This is the composition of my Ombre Dieu banner. Now, I would like to explain to you all the banners that is before me right now in my Grand Central reflection room that I told you that I am reporting from. I have several banners in front of me, and I built this reflection room, I would say, maybe 11 months ago. It's very old now in my realm. So I have as I said, my Ombre Dieu banner, and allow me to elaborate again on the Farthian banner that represents Farthia, the Sun King's realm. And you guys have heard all about that, or a little bit about that, when I interviewed the Sun King himself. Well, allow me to elaborate on that a wee bit. His flag, or I should say banner, is all blue, and it has a circle of yellow in the center. It represents the sun in the blue sky. Quite fitting for a Sun King, right? Well, now let me move on to another one of my flags. I have a flag that I have constructed that is just a white banner with that orange intersection or cross on it. And that represents my outposts. And these two flags, these two outpost flags that I have hanging in my Grand Central reflection room are here because they were my oldest outposts. And allow me to tell you what they are. One of them is the Arctic outpost I have, which is the oldest. That Arctic outpost that was at Igloo. Well, I turned it into my own outpost after I discovered that igloo. And the second one here is the Wallachian Forest outpost, which isn't my oldest outpost, but it's very symbolic because all of my people in my realm come from Wallachia. They're all descendants of this naturally spawned village where I got the very first people to form Seed Town. Now, moving on to my next flag, I have a flag that is all white, but it has a different intersection, or I should say cross, and that cross is the color blue. So not the orange color. So that represents the new world where Silhouette City, where I broadcasted from, is. And I have about 15, maybe 12 to 15 towns out there. The bulk of my towns are in the new world. It just really took off for me because it's very resource rich and very biome diverse. Now, allow me to tell you my last flag I have in here that represents my girlfriend Gaia Divine's realm, which is called New Gaia. And it's an extremely beautiful banner that represents her perfectly. It is colorful. It has a magenta at the top that fades to the middle, just fades out to the middle. And at the bottom is a yellow that fades to the middle. So you can only picture the magenta and the yellow just fading together. And in the middle is almost I would have to say a diamond pattern, but that is a pure yellow diamond. So these colors just complement each other just beautifully. And I just thought that was really cool. And that's the reason why I love banners, because to me it symbolizes all of your explorations and constructions that you have built in your world or worlds, all in one form. And to me, I think it adds a story to your gameplay. You can just build off of a banner. Sorry, my voice just cracked there. You can build off of a banner. You can create an entire lore surrounding a banner and the patterns provided to you in that loom. I recommend playing around with some patterns and make a really interesting looking flag, and then just let your imagination run wild. Just build from that. I mean, just random patterns and colors. Just make something if you're just, stuck with coming up with, like, let's say a new world or a new lore or something, or a new city. And I would just randomly make a banner and look at it. And just sometimes I'll just jumpstart your imagination, and you can just go off that and build some amazing things from the symbolism off the banner. With that all said, I would like to now take you on an extremely fascinating journey through time. Now to the history of banners. We have now entered the real part of the show, folks. I am bringing in a very brief history of the banner, because there's no way I could explain the entire history of the banner. In fact, we don't even know where it started, honestly. But first, I would like to quote the definition of a flag or banner from Britannica.com, titled Flag, Origins, Forms, and Functions, Britannica, published in 2019. Quote, a piece of cloth, bunting, or similar material displaying the insignia of a sovereign state, a community, an organization, an armed force, an office, or an individual, end quote. Thank you for putting that in perspective, Britannica. Very informative and very to the point. And that's exactly what I thought a flag was for. And I just want to give you all a literal definition for a base idea of what a banner exactly is. But I do not need to prove to you what a banner is or a flag. You, for sure, have seen your national banner flying freely wherever you live on this planet. Heck, if you live in the United States, just walk a block down the street and you probably will see our national flag hanging on somebody's door or a flag post or somewhere. They are everywhere. They're just everywhere. And they have been around for a long time on this earth. Not the American flag, but banners in general. Britannica.com goes on to say, as far as we know, it has been around since between 1046 and 256 BCE. That's a long time. That's a long time ago. I have read on many other sites that we simply cannot pin down a specific date. And that makes sense to me, because this is probably, in my head, it seems like a simple invention using cloth, that I bet we were using banners of some sort or function since prehistoric days. Who knows? But we estimate that occurred around that time and in the geographic location of the Indian subcontinent. And the Indian subcontinent known today is China. And I think, guys, I mentioned back in episode 3 in maps, map rooms, and compasses that the Chinese invented everything useful so early on. And this is just further proof to me. I think that I'm going to be mentioning China probably in a lot of these episodes. They go on to explain that it is said that the founding emperor of the Zhou dynasty, or maybe, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm just going to go with that. The Zhou dynasty that ruled between those years I just mentioned a moment ago, they had a white flag. And it preceded that emperor wherever he went. Like this flag just followed him. And this flag was a representation of the king himself. And I'm not joking. This was an extension of the king. Like if he had a third arm, it was the banner. That was part of him. This piece of material was nothing to mess around with, people. In fact, in the year 660 CE, a minor prince was punished for not lowering the standard or banner. And I just want to do a side note here. A standard is a solid banner, almost like a staff with usually an animal on top of that staff of some sort. So it was stiff. It wasn't made of like cloth. I just want to elaborate on that. That's what a standard is. But a standard is in the same category as flag and banner. It's like the predecessor to it. It did not go on to say what the punishment was to that minor prince, but I can only imagine that it probably was not very pretty for the flag bearer, especially back in 660 CE. Off with his head. No, that was before offing the heads. It was probably even much more cruel and torturous. I don't even want to imagine it. The Chinese, though, I want to go on and say, would post these flags on their chariots and cities that they conquered. From there, the flag spread to other parts of the world. They say that flags were primarily used in warfare. They would mark destination points or rally points using these banners for war. It kind of reminds me of war video games. You know, if you've ever played a war video game, you can usually kind of make a mark or a destination point where you want to indicate your buddies to go or to rendezvous with you. Also, the banner marked the king or a significant leader of that army. The banner, it went on to say here on that Britannica source, the banner would go wherever the king would go. It would follow him. The article also goes on to say that in India, the flag was often the most sought after target on the battlefield. They wanted to kill the flag of the enemy. And do you want to know why? It just kind of blows my mind that this banner was so important. It just is kind of outstanding that they would attach a banner to a figurehead on a battlefield anyways. That just blows my mind that you would do that. But the reason why they wanted to take down the flag of, why you want to take down the flag of your opposer back then is because this would throw the enemy into a disarray and utter confusion. I guess they didn't know who they were fighting anymore, what side, or maybe they just... maybe when the flag went down, represented the king or the queen or the leader, whoever was in charge, is dead, and they just didn't know what to do without that figurehead anymore. They cut the head off the snake. That's the only thing I can think of, but it's kind of funny to read about that, honestly. But it said here they would often lead to the defeat if they took down that flag. So you wanted to get the flag taken down. I mean, that was your objective, which is kind of like a game. It's kind of funny. Who has the football? Tackle him. Okay. Kill the dude with the banner. I have to say this real quick. I just do not understand ancient warfare at all. Because why would you mark your most important figure? I'm a chess player. And, it just, I mean, you just may as well put a sign on his or her head that says, kill me. And, like in the movies, the British marching in formation against the Americans and the Americans going, all last of the Mohicans on them, that was in quotes there, air quotes, Indian warfare on them, guerrilla warfare on them, but the British just marching straight up and being shot at. It's just, I don't know. It's very stupid how people fought, I think, back then. Why would you just march face to face and shoot at each other? It doesn't make any sense. But, and if the king died, why? I mean, maybe that's why they had to use a white flag to surrender after the king died. Yes, the classic white flag, that segues me to that. So your leader dies, that army might be throwing up a white flag, right? Well, I went ahead and got into the white flag because, me as the Dark Lord, I like to delve in a little deeper into some little side things in history, And I found that the white flag can be traced all the way back to 1542 CE. But I wanted to find out a little bit more, being curious, and I found an interesting article by History.com, specifically by an Andrews Evan, titled, When Did the White Flag Become Associated with Surrender? That says that I want to go on to say in this article that there was a Roman record keeper or a chronicler named by Livy. And that person wrote down this account of a Carthaginian ship that had been seen. And this is kind of funny to me. I had to reread this about 3 times. I thought at first read that they had raised this up in the air like a flag, on a mast. But that was just my mind thinking that. But what this Carthaginian ship had done was it was in the waters pulling up the shore, and it was seen by this Livy dressed in white wool and adorned in olive branches. Doesn't that just, it kind of paints a serene picture in my head, the olive, that seems peaceful. But what they were doing was indicating a parley during the Second Punic Wars is what was recorded here by that fellow. And this white cloth was also seen by General Tacitus in 69 AD, when the Vitellian forces surrendered during the Second Battle of Cremona. And also, this article takes us back to China again, but this time during the Han Dynasty during the first 3 centuries AD, where the white flag was invented independently from the Roman West. White in China, though, was symbolic for death. And this just may have been the case for having a white flag, right? In war, that makes sense. Too much death, wave the white flag is what I'm thinking. I didn't read that in the article. That's my own thoughts. But the article did say that the white wool in the ancient world was also very common, obviously, because there's no dye. It's just plain white wool. But it was very common, and this may have just been used because it was on hand by soldiers. It was just so common, they just had it there, and they used that to wave in the air. This could explain how the white banner became a symbol for surrender around the world and how it became independently invented in different areas of the world because it was a common fabric. I just thought that was all just extremely interesting to learn. Honestly, you guys know me by now. I love history, so very interesting. Eventually, the use and popularity of the banner of all the shapes with all sorts of the patterns and the colors, it just took on, and it started to be transmitted across Asia, and it eventually made its way to Europe, and it appears to have been very popular in Europe. Just picture, guys, anybody or any film you've seen in medieval times, and you think of colorful banners, right? With like the lion rearing up on its feet, lashing out, and its gnarly tongue sticking out, and its head up in the air. That whole thing. Yeah, pretty cool. Well, Britannica.com goes on to explain that cities went on to adopt their own banners in Europe. And it went on to even guilds. I mean, groups of people, like in the definition I read earlier, banners can be used by even individuals. It doesn't matter. Anybody can make a banner for anything as long as it's symbolic to them. It means it's a symbol. But even guilds would have banners, and you've probably seen these in movies, or if you've gone to Renaissance fairs or whatnot, these banners were quite to the point with their symbols on them, or the symbolism associated to the banner. It wasn't cryptic symbolism at all, when it came to guilds. For example, the symbol of the guild's trade, let's say a candle maker would probably just have a candle on the banner. Or let's say maybe a blacksmith would have an anvil on the banner. I'm just guessing this, but I did read in that article about the candle on the banner, and that was very neat. And so I just assumed that maybe an anvil for a blacksmith, heck, maybe it was a sword or something. I'm not sure. But I just thought that was really neat to learn, and that just gives me some ideas on some new flags to make for my workshops in my realm. I made a banner, I just to let you guys know how I incorporate one banner. It's my only one that I've done this with, but I made a banner with a brick pattern and put it as like a shade cover for my blacksmith in Newfoundland City. And I used this brick pattern specifically because it matched the brick structure. It's an open air blacksmith area, but it has a brick back and it goes up and then just has a brick overhang. And so the overhang just blocks out the rain and all the outdoor elements so he can do his work. But I put up a banner on one side so it looks like it's almost like a faux wall, right? And that just looks really neat to me. It's the only time that I have used slot number 3 in the loom. And I plan on utilizing that slot more often to make those unique patterns, like the brick one I just mentioned. I would now like to explain the significance of some of the colors used in medieval Europe. I think it will give you some ideas on how to use colors for your banner construction for your overworld, or at least jumpstart your imagination if you're having a mental block. I found another cool article, guys. I know I'm throwing a lot of articles at you, but I found a lot of cool information on banners. And this article is actually from a banner or flag company. No, this is not an ad to buy these flags. I don't work for this company, but they had like some blog or this article, and it was quite interesting. So I had to use it. They had an article on colors and what they symbolize on banners in medieval times. And this was called heraldry. The article titled Medieval Flags Found at GettysburgFlag.com, published in 2019. And again, I'm not a sponsor for this company. So I'll start with the color red. Apparently, the color red was a very popular color back then. It demonstrated military power and was the only color was the color of a warrior, was the color of a warrior and military power. I want to go on next to the color of gold, which kind of struck me as odd, this one. But the color of gold symbolizes generosity. I always associate, I don't know, like gilded, like fake, or greed. Or wealth, not generosity. I would have thought the opposite with gold. But things change over time, symbolism. Next, silver and white. And silver and white, it appears, could be interchangeable, meaning silver or white could mean peace or sincerity, which I think that's pretty cool. And that actually kind of makes sense when you think about the white flag, right? Like, wave that in the air, peace, like, hey, truce, or I'm giving up, So I kind of see, I don't know, that's just very interesting to me. I didn't really delve that much further into that rabbit hole, but look into that, guys. Maybe something derived from, each other. And my favorite color, green, I don't know, I don't know if you guys can guess what green represents. It represents hope. And I was happy to find that out, and I think that's pretty cool. And I have not made a green banner. It just occurred to me, I have not made a green banner yet. I think I should probably go do that. I think I'll probably get on to that this afternoon. And let me go on to the last one on this publication, an extremely important representation, and it represented loyalty and truth. That color being blue. And I think that's appropriate for blue. I really do. I thought these few color examples were very fascinating because this, to me, gives me ideas for new banners, guys. I don't know what it does for you, but I kind of like associating symbolism with everything. And if you couldn't tell by now, I love making my own headcanon. So this just gives me so much more to do with that, And now I want to continue just making specific city banners with unique colors that identify the towns and like maybe that specific biome of the town, maybe match the flag to the biome or what the city's known for. I already have a lot of lore to my cities. I know I can come with banners all day. I'm lucky actually that my banner, my Kingdom's banner, is primarily red. Perfect for my headcanon, I think, because red is for a warrior. I'm the Dark Lord. I am the warrior. So now I would like to get into how to make dyes from the materials found in the Overworld, people. Before I move on to the actual banner, I think it is appropriate to give a briefing into where to find these dyes, because this will be essential to your banner design. Many different colors can be found upon the Overworld's surface. Allow me to tell you the flowers and other materials you can find in the Overworld in order to make different dyes. I'm going to be posting this amazing article in the description of the show that explains all the dyes and how to make mixed dyes. I urge you to go check it out because it is extremely useful, people. It has a picture chart. How much easier can you make it than with a picture chart? It is titled Dyes in Minecraft, Minecraft 101, found at minecraft101.net. Now, I want to start with the red dye. You can use these for red dye. If you're out in the Overworld, go find yourself some roses. After you buy your significant other some roses in real life, get in the Overworld and find some roses. Now, moving on. Poppies. Now, I just want to say this. All of you who have iron farms, you already know this. Poppies make red dye because you are littered with poppies. I know this because I have an iron farm. And for those of you who do not have an iron farm yet, I don't blame you. And there's no rush into getting those, but you don't really need anything fancy except for a hole in the ground and 20 villagers and a little bit of lava. And voila, you'll have a lot of iron and a lot of red poppy seeds if red's your color like it is for my national flag. Moving on. If you have beetroots, you can go ahead and make red from those. And, some of those farmers will naturally go out there and plant beetroots for you if you're lucky enough to have a beetroot farmer. I've kind of noticed the beetroot farmers in my realm are kind of rare. I usually have carrot farmers, which I wish I had beetroot and more wheat farmers, honestly. I have a couple wheat ones, and I think I might have one beetroot farmer, but I'm not sure. I do have a small, you wouldn't call it a grove, a small little garden of beetroots that I'm trying to grow more of. So I'm getting that started. I do have a little bit of beetroot. Anyways, moving on to blue. Blue orchids can produce a beautiful blue dye, and I love the blues. And I incorporated that into, well, that's a darker blue, I guess I should say, for my New World flag, and not the light blue. I think I use lapis lazuli for that, perhaps. Which, I'm moving on to lapis lazuli. You can use lapis lazuli for blue, obviously, but you'll find lapis lazuli underground when you're mining. And when you do find it, you find a lot of it. So just gather it. Don't dismiss it or anything. It'll be useful for you when it comes to dyeing things, but more importantly for when you need enchantments. You're going to want enchantments at one point in the game. So just store that in a treasure chest if you're waiting for doing enchantments. Just store that somewhere. That's just a little advice from the Dark Lord. Now moving on to green, my favorite color, I would use a cactus and smelt that in the furnace, which will never sound right to me in my logical thinking mind. I don't know. This game stretches the imagination, but to produce green with a cactus, you gotta smelt it in a furnace, which is just funny to me. It's just funny. I don't know how they came up with that. Moving on to white. For white, you're going to want to go out there and collect those bones from the skeletons, or go out there and kill a few skeletons of your own, and also use those bones, to tame some of those dogs, and then get those armadillo shells or scoots and arm your dog. Voila, you're set. And go get more bones to make white dye. And you're going to be using bone meal, I believe, for white dye. And now moving on to gray, go find some white tulips. And this will produce a light gray dye, which I think is very pleasing to the eye, actually. I kind of like that light gray in this game. It has a nice appeal to it. Another way to make gray is you can mix blue and black. Yes, you can mix things. You can mix these dyes and make new colors. You're not just limited to what's presented to you. So you can mix the blue and black, and you can get black from an ink sac from a squid. And you mix those together and you get a pure gray. And those are the colors I just listed. Those colors I just listed there, the gray, the white, and all the others. I did those for you so you can make the colors I named with the symbolic meanings from the medieval times that I had spoken about just a moment ago. So now you can make those symbolic colors if that's something you want to do. If you're even going for a medieval theme, or you just doing your own thing, I just think it's really interesting. Some other colors you can make from natural objects found in the overworld I want to get into are the cocoa beans, if you want to have brown. Or you can go find some alliums or lilacs, and those two flowers will create magenta. And to be truthful, I've never heard of alliums before. I hope I'm saying that right. I've heard of lilacs. Moving on, if you want orange, well, just go find orange tulips. And I have orange tulips, like I said, I have in front of my banners. The orange is on my national flag. And if you would like to have some pink dye, go out and find yourself some peonies and pink tulips. You don't even need a crafting table to make dyes. You can just mash it up with your hands, people. Yeah, you don't need a crafting table for most dyes, I should say. But like I said, with the cactus and even lapis lazuli, you're going to have to smelt those. There are many dyes I did not list in this. Like I said, the mixed dyes. But you guys can go check that out at that article that will be posted in the description. And you can just look at that beautiful chart that the person has. And it's so easy. And you can craft all those mixed dyes. Now, let's move on to the banner itself. Now that we know how to make dye and where to locate some of them upon the overworld, we can now get into the making of banners. But first, a little Minecraft history from Minecraft Wiki under banners. Going on to say, Jens Bergensten, who goes by Jeb, the chief creative officer for Mojang Studios, so yes, important guy, on July 21st, 2014, posted a picture of a banner and announced he was working on them. This was back in the Java 1.8 days, and that was when the concept of the banner was born. The reason why I'm talking about this episode today. All born back in 2014, people. That's just a brief history on it for the game. Now, to make a banner is very simple. You just need a couple basic materials. In fact, you just need 6 blocks of wool that you can shear from some sheep and a stick. That's simple. Now, I would like to tell you a nice little trick to dyed wool. Instead of dyeing that wool individually, like the individual blocks that you get from when you shear a sheep, you can go ahead and just dye that wool on the sheep. Yes, you can dye a sheep, let's say red. You just take the dye in your hand and you go up to the sheep and you click on it and the sheep will turn red. And you can then shear that off the sheep, that wool, and it's going to drop red wool. You can do that for any color. And guess what? It will grow back. And I tested that out myself, and you'll have just a lot of that color. And I think that's just a fast way of getting it. Now, you can also breed 2 red sheep together and produce more red sheep that way. They will come out as red. I thought that was just an awesome tip that I discovered while researching this. And a lot of you people probably already knew that, but I did not know that this entire time, like at all. I have a feeling that is just one of the many things that I have overlooked in this game. But I'm glad that I have learned it now, and I get to pass it on to others that don't know as well. Probably the newer people are in that category. Yeah, I just had no idea. And last night when I started doing that, I was like, okay, this is very efficient. And I also believe you can mix dyes, like 2 different sheep of different colors together. For example, breed a yellow, or like you could breed a yellow sheep with a red sheep to get an orange sheep. I never knew any of this, and I'm going to definitely do this from now on. I'm going to just get my colors that way for my flag, my national flag, and it'll just be faster. This will save you so much time from gathering flowers. That can be rare to come by anyways and hard to find. And you won't have to physically dye the wool individually anymore. I just think that's so cool. Anything that saves time. I love that. Now, once you have a flag, you may want to take it over to the loom to add some cool patterns into it. So now we know how to make banners, people. Now I want to take that banner over to the loom. Yes, the loom is where we will be able to add up to 6 patterns to our banner. And the limit is 6 unless you use mods in the game. You can't go past that number. And there are 36 different patterns to choose from. This gives you a wide range of creative control over your banner design. You can make almost literally anything if you know how to place the patterns in the right way. I have seen online some amazing designs that are just true works of art. I'm not even lying. It's like, how did they make that? You can make a loom in a crafting table by using 2 strings and 2 wood blocks. It is seriously one of the cheaper occupational blocks that you can make. And it will also employ a villager. It will make an unassigned villager that is not a nitwit. Do not confuse the unemployed with the unwillingly unemployed people. But this block, the loom, will create a villager into a shepherd, which I think to me is very appropriate because a shepherd, tends to his or her flock. And that sheep produce the wool that we use for the banner making. I just think, shepherd, loom, there you go. So once you have crafted your loom, shoo away that shepherd and open it up. The loom, as you will see, will display on the left side of the screen all the patterns that you can choose from by scrolling up and down. And on the right hand of the screen, you'll see it labeled loom right there on the right hand. And under that loom will be 3 slots going from left to right. In the first slot, you will place your banner there. In the second slot, you'll be able to place the die of your choosing. And in the third slot is for special patterns or optional patterns like my brick pattern I mentioned earlier. I have an article found on GameRant.com titled Minecraft How to Make Banners by Camisha Pisenti, dated January 11th, 2022, that explains that you can use the third slot by combining a piece of paper with the following. So this is what I did for my brick pattern. But I'm going to give all the examples of the different patterns you can use. These rare ones. These are rare patterns. You can use this third slot, as I said, with a piece of paper and let's say an enchanted golden apple. And that will make the former Mojang Studios logo, which I believe is that Apple Been Out logo. Which made that person, that commenter from earlier in the show had on their shield. So the enchanted golden apple makes that Mojang Studio, the former Mojang Studio logo, if you just put that with a piece of paper. Now I want to go on to say you can go ahead and do that with a wither skeleton skull. And that will do a skeleton skull and crossbones. Isn't that cool? I never knew these until I did this research. I can't wait to do this, honestly. I need to go do the wither, get a wither skeleton skull first. But if you have a creeper head, that'll do a creeper face. So you can do a creeper face banner, which is, I think, really cool as well. Or an oxeye daisy, will do daisies, which that's pretty common, but even more common, which is why I did this, was the brick pattern, and that's only for Bedrock Edition. I'm sorry, Java people, but that's only for us. As well as the vines, which I want to do the vines. I think that's going to look really awesome with the vine pattern, but that's only for the Bedrock people also, so sorry, Java. You can use these to add a whole repertoire of just to the 36 out already in the loom screen. So you're adding just a bunch more to the 36 that adds I don't know how many more combinations to the flag. But I just think that's really neat that they do that, just really cool patterns. So I urge you to try out all the combos. I think it'll take you a long time. I read somewhere, I can't even remember where, so many billions of combinations you can do with the flags. I don't know how believable the article was. Like I said, I can't remember what article was. That's why I didn't use it as a reference, but I'm sure it's an extremely high number, so good luck if you want to try all the combos. To save you time in making banners, I do want to give you a tip though. So if you're ever into, let's say like you have a national flag like me, right? Let me just backtrack a little bit. You have a national flag or a flag or a banner that you need a lot of. I just want to tell you how to copy those. And it's very easy. So take a white flag, white being I would say, the most common color because you don't have to dye it. So take a white flag that you already made and put that in the loom. And remember that the loom is limited to 6 patterns for the banner. However, whatever your flag's base color is, you can go over. After you put that white flag in the first slot, in the second slot, whatever color you want as the background to the flag, put in that second slot and choose, there you're going to see a pattern that will do 1/2. So do that. Then go ahead, put the flag back in the first slot and the die in the second slot again. And then you're going to use that same color and do the other half with the other pattern, the reverse, the other side of the flag, but with that pattern. And it's going to go ahead and mark that whole entire flag the color of that background color that you want. And then you can go ahead and I think you'll have 4 more patterns you can add to that. And then you can make your flag. And then from there, you can take just white flags from there on out and make copies of them in the crafting table. You go to your crafting table, open it up, and you know how you have your crafting grid there. You can just go ahead and place the flag you already have that you want to make copies of. And then to the right of it, put a white flag there, and it'll spit out a copy of that. Doesn't matter how elaborate that flag is, you won't have to ever use dye again. All you need is wool, and you'll just have to make a banner, and then you just copy it because it identifies that base color as white. So it's just going to go ahead and copy all the other dye over to that, if that makes any sense to you. Now back to Camisha Pisenti's article. They go on to explain where we can find some very rare flags in Minecraft. I mean, they aren't super, super rare, some of these, but I mean, still cool to know. You know, and some of these flags we can't make in survival mode. Like, I want to start here at the Woodland Mansion. And why the Woodland Mansion? Well, if you have been listening to the show, you probably have heard how badly I want to find one of these elusive structures. They only generate 10,000 blocks away from your point of origin, and I have not made it but halfway out to that spot. Like around 5,500 blocks is the furthest I've made it so far. I guess I just need to go on a long expedition, but I have not done that, and I want to find one of these. But anyways, inside these mansions you'll find a lot of cool stuff that I'm not going to get into in this episode. So sorry, yes, I'm a tease, but I am going to elaborate about the banners that can be found in there because this is an episode on banners. And these mansions have a chance of spawning. I'm going to go ahead and get started here. The ominous banner, which will also cause raids if you kill it. So be careful when you're taking these banners. If somebody's holding it, it'll cause raids, the ominous banner, and it around your villages, you'll see these guys holding it. But in the mansions, they'll have these up, I believe. And they'll also have a gray banner and a light gray banner. And then I guess they'll have the black banner in these mansions. And some of you people listening to this have probably already found all these and probably like, oh, this is not a big deal. But, you know, I still want to collect them. I think it'd be really cool to have in my repertoire, in my collection. But, you know, just say I conquered it. I've already collected other ominous banners from raiders and stuff, so I think that'd be neat. But one that I really want badly is the magenta banner. And of course, you guys know I haven't made to the end, or maybe you don't know, those just now listening in, welcome to the show. But this could be found, the magenta banner, in the end dimension, and this is a rarity. And I think it would just be amazing to have in a collection, like I said. I don't know what kind of lore I can wrap around that. I guess you gotta stay tuned and listen. And speaking of the end dimension, well, I have to say that kind of just segues me to the end of the episode, folks. Banners. At the beginning of the show, I had told you a few ways in which other Minecraftians have incorporated banners into their worlds. From using banners to personalize a shield by displaying a cool design or something more symbolic or profound, to People making elaborate designs that look like paintings, all the way to elaborate lore being built around these patterns that are sewn into them. Not only are banners important to Minecraftians, but they are essential in early warfare within human history. They were also just used to distinguish individual nations, groups, organizations, religions, and individuals, and much, much more. Flags are simply everywhere. From the Zhou dynasty thousands of years ago, all the way back then, to Americans today waving them in the air on the 4th of July while blowing stuff up. Flags and banners remain an important part of human history and have been very useful and beneficial to Minecraft since the introduction of them in 2014. I look forward to hearing how you incorporate flags into your worlds and the lore that you create around them. Please go to my bio link and email me, or join the Realm News Discord and let me know. I had a great time telling you all about banners today, people. Until next week, the Dark Lord signing off. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this episode, please hit that plus sign up there and follow me so you can get my latest weekly episodes sent directly to you. Send this podcast to all of your friends. Comment on each episode and take a poll. And don't forget to rate the show. This will help me improve it for you. You can reach me at bio.link/realm news. Again, if you want to join the community, my Discord, or want to email me, go to bio.link/realm news. There, you will also find some cool articles and videos from my research, polls, and Minecraft-related content.